Welcome to the reboot of our podcast series here at the On Deck channel. This is an hour-long discussion amongst all of the co-owners of the Yacht Rigger, and we're just basically ripping across all the differences that have happened within the kind of the state of the industry as it is currently existing right now in the first quarter of 2026. And that's specifically more between the state of technology, battery systems, AC, inverters, things like that, featuring Andre, rigging, and the whole world around Dyneema, synthetic rigging, things like that, featuring Steven. And then we take a little bit of a dive into the world of fabrication and things like that via the other co-owner of the Yacht Rigger here, Brian. Please comment and subscribe. This is really intended for you to be able to throw on some headphones, maybe be cleaning your boat or doing a long passage or driving somewhere, getting laundry done, boat chores, house chores, all those kind of things. You can just let this podcast run and hear a bunch of people nerd out about all things marine. I will see you guys on the next episode of the On Deck channel. Thank you so much for watching. So quick round of introductions here for the Yacht Rigger team. I call you guys the three. It's a little cheesy, but you guys are the three co-owners of the Yacht Rigger, right? So yeah, if you just kind of tell, your name and what you do at the Yacht Rigger, how long you've been doing what you've been doing.
So my name is Andre Cormier. We've officially merged in 2021, April Fools. And I had Gulf Nautical before that for either 2 or 3 years, something like that.
Year and a half to 2 years.
2 years? I don't know. Yeah.
You started during COVID, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I've always been tinkering on boats since I've had one in 2006, doing all my electrical and learning along the way. And then I finally got the certifications to do all this stuff. And yeah.
So I think it was 2018 you told me, you were like, hey, I'm going to put lithium on my boat. I'm like, okay, cool. Yeah.
And then let's jump back to the very beginning of how we started working with him. Was he said, I want solar, you guys figure out the structural way to put it on there and I'll do everything else. And we were like, well, that's not normal, but okay. Like most people don't do that, but okay, that's great. And we did it, and it worked out so well on your boat that we started really doing that. Like your boat was pretty much the first, wasn't it? I mean, it was right around.
We did a lot of arches with solar.
We had done arches with solar, yes, but
We
to
kind
do
of
it from
ended there.
Yeah.
It was like the arch and the wiring, and it kind of ended there.
Yes. I'll never forget when you said, "Hey, I was thinking about getting ABYC certified. If I do that, would you guys feed me some work?" And we had a private laugh and said, "We'll bury you. You'll never see light again."
Yeah, and you did.
Because that is something that it's needed for what we do.
Yeah.
So that's your specialty, lead electrician at the Yacht Rigger. And I understand you also have a little side hobby of flying, jetliners across oceans?
Yeah, Boeing 787 for Canada.
Yeah.
So
787.
my run is India. I go to India and back about 2.5 times a month. So two in the middle of the month and then one overlap in between the 2 months. So in the summertime it changes a little bit. I do a little bit of Korea, a little bit of Europe, but mostly delis.
Yeah, that's sweet. All right, and then Steven.
So yeah, I'm Steven, and I have been rigging for 20-ish years now, which is crazy to think about. But yeah, I was 19, I think, when I started. Did an apprenticeship, and yeah, I've been sailing since I was a teenager, and I run the rigging and rigging department here, running and standing rigging.
Yeah, and you're like, I always use the term classically trained, but I just think it's so cool because it's like you went in specifically for training to be a rigger. Where again?
I think, I would say Martin. I think a lot of people fall into rigging because they've been sailing for a long time, and then they learn it from a variety of sources. But there's other people who've done an apprenticeship,
sure,
kind of like I have, but not as many, I would say. So yeah, I went into a job at a rigging shop in St. Martin and spent almost 5 years working there, as it was my first real job. After my first real serious job that I stuck with.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was really good just to see a huge variety of boats, and from really, really big to cruisers. We didn't really see small boats because it's hard to get to St. Martin on a small boat.
You're not going to get there on a small boat.
So yeah, lots of boats in the 30 to 50 foot range, but some in the 150 foot range, which was super cool.
Massive sailboats down there,
Yeah, a lot of
sweet.
fun.
Nice.
Yeah. Very.
And then we got the third part of the stool.
What?
Double take.
So
thank you.
I'm the metal fab guy. So I say metal fab, but now I should just drop off the metal and say fab in general because I can build with whatever. But yeah, I went to school for welding, for fabrication and welding.
He's classically trained in
I
metal.
was classically trained in metal.
Right,
yeah,
right.
Yeah. And I always say jack of all trades, master of one.
Right.
Because I did actually master that one.
Yeah.
And so, I did certified welding and X-ray welding and all kinds of stuff like that for industrial places and construction and ironworking, and did pretty much if it was metal, I dabbled in it just to see. I even did blacksmithing for a while, for a few years. But all that entire time, I was sailing as a hobby and doing metal stuff for my own boats and making things for my own. And then started to get more and more into the marine market, and people started noticing the parts on my boat and asking if I could weld for them. And so for a while there I was doing rigging too, but it was very light duty. I was not near what he was, and so I was kind of doing that when he met me. I was kind of freelance doing some rigging and then still doing mast fabrication and boom fabrication, stuff like that.
It's so rare, like really count on 2 fingers, or not, I don't even know if it's 2, to find a fabricator or someone who really, like a true fabricator who knows sailboats.
Oh yeah, no.
I mean, most of those guys are like into motorcycles, cars, or
you know what people used to tell me all the time: if it doesn't have 500 horsepower and make lots of noise, I'm not interested.
right.
That's
Right.
most of the gearheads that are into fabrication would generally
Right.
morph
Totally
towards that
makes
kind of
sense.
stuff. Let's blow it up.
But if you
make
think
it
about
loud,
like
so-
Brian's fab capabilities and what you've seen over the years, right? Like it's one thing to know how to make, bend, and weld and do everything, but to do it in such a way that it works well on a sailboat and also looks good. Because a lot of guys will make something perfectly strong and functional, but then you put it in the back of the boat and it's like, oh cool, there's a scaffold back there.
One of my old the owners of the companies I worked for a long time ago would always call that agricultural.
Yeah.
Hey, that looks agricultural.
yes.
Like it's definitely strong. It's definitely going to do its job, but it does not look like it should be on a sailboat.
Right.
It should be on a tractor.
Yeah, it's not
And
that
like
yacht
right.
work, yacht level kind of work. So there's fabrication, rigging, electric, but you have a few other departments at the Yacht Rigger. What are those?
We do, as we've evolved, and it's thanks to each of us in different ways, I guess. But so the cabinetry side of things is definitely mostly
cabinetry.
Andre's subspecialty. He knows more about than Brian and I. I mean, I can definitely make something kind of look like a cabinet, but not not specialized at all. And then there's the HVAC side, which is also a lot of yours, which kind of falls into electrical a lot of the time.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then plumbing, and then fiberglass is more falls under Brian because
Okay.
it's
So you have
more
a fiberglass guy.
fabrication.
That's
So
what that's
fiberglass
that's
and
the
gel
guy
coat.
doing the
Composites.
gel coat. Yeah, doing like the hard tops.
And we do
Well-
highline hard tops. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say the Highline Hardtops is its own little entity as well because it's a combination of all the fabs together, and so
yeah.
you make a metal frame and then you skin it in fiberglass, but you make the skin. So you're making
Yeah.
the skin, you're making the fiberglass, you're making the metal, putting it all together to look like it should be there.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then we have an e-commerce site that we're trying to grow and make better
Yeah.
and more user friendly. We're distributors for Southern Ropes,
Yep, Blue Wave.
Blue Wave,
Go Southern
Arco.
Ropes.
That's it.
That's what's on my boat now.
Yeah.
Arco, yeah.
Yeah, so the distribution line is a whole other
E-winter.
side thing that we do that's really just helped us grow and well round the service side of the company because it gets us we have so much inventory where we very rarely have to go, hey, we have to wait 3 days for a part to come in. So it's been very helpful in that way.
One of the things that I like about it is that we do almost everything we do everything on relationship sales. And so we build relationships with the customers, and generally speaking, when you've built that relationship with a customer and you're working on this big complicated project here and they go, oh, could you also go do this? You go, I should probably do that.
Yeah.
I can do that. And if it's not you,
Yeah.
I will find the tech that can do it and we'll make it happen. And
Yeah.
we've done that so many times over the years that we just go, well, that was helpful to be able to
Right.
just beginning to end, start to finish, do it. And
Yeah.
have everything on hand to be able to do it, like you said, to have the stock, to have the inventory, to just say, oh, there's this issue, and then we can just come up with a solution to the issue and be done with it. And
As
that's
opposed to
not
waiting 6 weeks for some subcontractor to be available.
Right.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I've heard Will call that scope creep or project creep.
Yep.
Like, what a perfect word
It
for
is.
that.
It's
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
nice to have all of the specialties in house too.
Yeah.
Like the other day, I think I was in India, and we were FaceTiming with Brian and an influencer, there's a problem. We're trying to install Arco alternators, and the bracket wouldn't fit. So with a piece of cardboard, Brian instructed him how to draw, and then the parts just arrived. I saw them. So Brian's going to fabricate them. We're going to ship them back. So it's just really nice to have all that,
It's neat with,
flexibility. Instead of giving up right there, it's like, oh, Brian can probably figure that out.
Yeah, man, that team approach is hard to beat. I've found that out in some few ways in my life as well. Teams really help. It's definitely a thing.
Yeah.
So, what do you guys think about? We're into the second month of 2026 now. What do you think is the state of the industry in the cruising world? Because there's also power cats. I see more of those. I feel like. Trawlers and these kind of things. But of course, sailing is kind of bread and butter. It's what I'm on. It's what I see around, the yard here a lot, things like that. But if you imagine in each of your respective fields, kind of what you think the state of the industry is and how it's evolved over time, given just kind of where we are now, between best practices and technologies, things on the horizon, kind of where you think it might be headed to. And I got to start with electronics because I can't think of.
This is going to be the big talking
I know,
point right
yeah.
here. It's by far the most change we've seen.
So, I feel like it kind of slowed down a little bit. It's definitely evolving. Where do you want to start? Lithium batteries or air conditioners?
Even
Well, just the fact that when we started, it was not possible to do what we're doing now, and we haven't been open for 50 years.
It was a lot more expensive though. The batteries were so expensive.
Was it possible to have air conditioning overnight on a battery when we started? 2016, 17? I don't think so.
Almost, yeah.
Yeah.
Barely.
With enough batteries, just with more batteries.
Case,
With the entire boat full of batteries and
Right.
the boat performance.
Because Rod, when did Rod do his lithium bank? It was 2000.
The battery was a sail.
Probably 20 years ago now.
Yeah. So Rod, one of the guys on, people were building their own battery banks for a while, and it was
Meaning that it
doable.
really wasn't.
Right.
No,
It
but
was
for an
those
entry level
edge
person,
case.
or
Yeah, it
even
wasn't
for
that
the
much.
Back then, I told that to people. It's like, I'm going to run my air conditioner overnight on the batteries, and they were like, no. Like everybody it was disbelief. But now people seek that because they understand it's possible, and it's because of lithium batteries that we can do that.
But I guess what you're saying about it slowing down is like between, I feel like 2019, 18, 19, and 22, 23, there was this crazy rise in just how prolific it was. Everyone wanted it done, and people still do, but the technology was improving rapidly. There were these battery manufacturers who came and went. Solar saw some cool improvements, nothing crazy, but
more expensive too. The batteries were more expensive. Then they dropped in price, and then when they dropped in price, and when it became more popular and more common stream, and people knew about it, and it wasn't. Of course, in the beginning, everybody was afraid of a lithium fire.
Right.
With lithium iron phosphate, there's an FAA document. I can give it to you, and you can pin it on this. But the FAA tried to catch one of these batteries on fire, and they just couldn't.
Oh, but that's what the iron chemistry.
Correct. The phone is way more like your phone and your computer will catch lithium fire,
or your Tesla,
or your e-scooter, man. That's
right.
Exactly. Those things are kicking
Those are
off.
the chemistries that
Yeah.
are.
but that perception is still out there. I
Of
still
course.
come across
Oh,
it
yeah,
on
absolutely.
not daily basis anymore. It used to be almost daily. You would see it online,
It
but
used
now
to be a
it's
part of every single conversation.
less
I
than
had.
5%.
Yeah.
Yeah, but people still think that.
Even
I actually
just
had a
to-
conversation earlier this week with
it's
someone
a
last
thing.
week. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, it really is.
They were like, it'll burn through the bottom of the boat and then keep burning on the ocean floor.
Right.
And you're like, magnesium does, but
Right.
not what we have.
Yeah, so it's really stabilized.
Yeah, so the
getting past
price
that.
point. Yeah, so the price point is kind of stabilized now. It's the technology is changing. There's a lot of there's actually one point that's very frustrating that not a lot of people know or understand. Most of the batteries are manufactured in China. And there's some North American companies that import these batteries and they label them, and those, in my opinion, are better because you have a U.S. backed or Canadian backed, or it doesn't really matter where the company is, but a team of people in North America that import these batteries and they make sure that everything
QC
is correct. QC,
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
And warranty them too.
And warranty them. Yeah, that's right. Or you have these other companies that are directly from China. They have an office in Los Angeles, and you send an email during the day, but in the middle of the night you get an email because they're overseas somewhere, and that's fine. And they're not bad batteries. There's a lot of really good batteries, but they offer a very long warranty. 10 years, 11 years. So the battery manufacturer has to protect their battery to be able to honor that warranty. And what they've done is first there's a BMS, battery management system. That protects all the parameters that are unhealthy for the battery, whether it be voltage, amperage, temperature. It basically protects the battery. But the engineers have added another layer of protection that they haven't really told people about, and it's called full charge protection. And as you're charging your battery, and you don't really know where it's going to happen, if it has it, they will stop the charging of the battery at a certain voltage, like say 14 volts. When you would have your, and am I getting too
No, this is
technical?
interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, because like you would have your settings could be higher and it won't let it go there.
It won't let it go there. So there's
Interesting.
charging MOSFETs. Okay, so there's like, think of one-way valves, and there's a one-way valve to charge the battery and a one-way valve to discharge the battery. And so they leave the discharge portion open, so the battery doesn't fully shut down. It just doesn't allow any current into the battery. But you don't know when that's going to happen. Well, we figured out with a few batteries, like some of the early Epics, they don't have them anymore because we figured it out and they changed the
They
software.
listen, right?
Yeah. But some of the, I think, lead time and some of the other, like, very popular one, you'll charge your battery and it'll stop charging right at 14 volts. And that's not a problem if you're running a golf cart. Because you plug in any charger you want, you're going to charge, the battery's going to protect itself, stop at 14 volts. And so, under most circumstances, that's not a problem unless you're charging with an alternator. So, big lithium battery banks that are very powerful, you need to charge them. Alternator is the best way of doing that. And as soon as you hit that wall, that full charge protection, it causes a voltage spike. It causes damage on the equipment.
And it's unpredictable until you figure out where that limit is.
Yeah.
Right. And so you have to set the alternator to a lower charge voltage.
That's my recommended
That's
practice. Correct.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
how you the work
To where it
around.
never goes that high, or
Yeah, like some.
You'll stop it at
Yeah,
13.9 or 9.5, whatever.
Yeah.
So
you
that
still
it
have
can't-
enough differential voltage to have a really decent charge on the batteries. You're never going to get to 100%, which is perfectly fine.
What's 100% for lithium again?
Oh,
Depends on the battery, right?
Well,
or
14.6 is the absolute max.
Okay.
But and that's the other thing. In the literature for these batteries, they'll say charge voltage 14.6. You never want to be there. Like that's at the edge. That's the maximum.
Yeah. And that
And
wears
that's
out
up to-
batteries faster, right? Being at 100?
am I understanding?
What do you
wrong
say,
is-
sir?
It wears out batteries faster, right? Being at 100? Because like our
lithium
phones will stop charging. They won't even
Right.
go up to 100 anymore if it can figure out your schedule. Your phone will say, oh, it's only
Right.
going to charge to 95 based on usage.
Yeah, so that you don't want to be, as a matter of fact, yeah, you don't want to be in the upper voltage, like above 14 volts for an extended period of time.
Is that dendrite formation or is that
Correct.
a different issue?
Yeah,
It is dendrite
yeah.
formation. Okay. Yeah.
So let's say you have a charger and you just float. Let's say you were to incorrectly program your charger and you float at 14.2 and your lithium battery was sitting at 14.2 indefinitely, it would definitely shorten the life of the batteries. That's why for the lithium charge profile, you want to climb up to, let's just say 14.2, and then it drops back down to 13.5 or 13.6. 13.6 is known as the resting voltage of lithium batteries. It's not under tension, if you will, like it's not charging, so you want to be right below that where it's kind of resting, and that's where it likes to be.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. I need to go check my settings. What were you saying?
So I was going to ask the question because I was blown away. Going back to metal fab real quick, amperage is how I create the heat on the welder, and I know to weld very thick aluminum takes lots and lots of amperage. And I remember having a amperage set at around 450 to weld 3/4 inch thick aluminum. And then I remember also hearing another time at a different time that you told me that you were dumping 600 amps into a battery bank at a time. And I thought, how
What
is
is
that
that melting
even
like?
possible? Is it not just a puddle of metal
Right,
over there in the corner? I don't understand. And now I'm hearing the 600 amps to be piled in, but where does the amperage? I know it's amperage of this and volts to that. So how does that is confusing me right now, and I bet you it's confusing somebody else that's watching this. And so if anybody knows enough about electricity that
So you're asking like how can they receive 600 amps without
not
having
without
damage?
being 4.2 14.2 or
Because
3.
the aluminum has resistance, right?
So is it
Well, you're
can you do
welding-
600 amps at 13.5 amps?
You're creating a short circuit by choice, and you're
Oh, yeah.
melting some
Short
metal.
circuit welding,
We're
that's what
trying
it's
not
called.
to melt some metal on a boat under
So it's
with
just
an electrical
flow.
system.
It's
Yeah.
flow but not resistance. So the resistance is my gap, and there is no gap in your system, so it doesn't create the heat.
Yeah, well, there's heat created. Resistance.
there's heat created,
Like
just not as much.
a fuse is usually the the hottest part of a system, or a bad connection, or
Resistance is equal to heat. That's the one thing I did learn in welding.
And that's why we've been stepping up the voltage to 24 and 48, like we did your board in 24. It's just once you reach a certain level, it doesn't make sense anymore. Then you skip up to the next voltages.
Yeah, and then it's a little less sensitive too if it's not at 12 volts, right? Does it give you a little more room to?
There's a little bit.
So you don't get like a little gremlin because you have a little corrosion on a wire somewhere, and your chart plotter is always rebooting.
A little bit, but resistance is always.
If you have enough.
Yeah. It's the worst part of an electrical system. I'd say that's the number one problem, and the worst problem of an electrical system is bad connections, resistance anywhere, whether it be from corrosion.
That's why a thermal camera is pretty handy to look at those, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
I've seen a few of those where you're like, whoa, even I know those wires are too small.
Well, some of them you don't need.
Those wires are too small.
Some of them you don't need a thermal camera because they're glowing.
Right. Some of those on Nomad that you guys found.
Is this your nightlight?
What's the guy?
Fernando,
yeah. He's like, wires are melted. I was like, whoa.
One of the visuals like I have in my head though for lithium versus like lead acid, because you can't put like 600 amps into a lead acid or an AGM battery, but in my head I always imagine like the electrons flowing into the battery like fiber optic cables, and then to lithium I just visually in my head I see like thousands of fiber optic cables going to very specific locations in the battery, and then like lead acid I see like 12 like spaghetti noodles just being fed in there, so like there's not as much room for the electrons to flow through. I don't know why the chemistry lets more electrons flow in.
I don't know why either. I don't know the technicality of that, but it's a very interesting difference between AGMs and lithium. So AGMs, when you're charging them, they heat up. As we discussed, heat is resistance, so you're actually not charging at a 1-for-1. Like if you take,
you're losing some.
You're losing some, and it's to the tune of like 10 to 15%. So, and
for AGMs,
correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Contrast that to lithium, it's almost 1-for-1. There's nothing is of perfect efficiency, right?
Because there's very little resistance though in the lithium
it just
battery.
absorbs it and takes it all in. Yeah, that's right.
It'd be interesting to get like to chat with someone who could truly explain what it is about the chemistry that lets the electrons in. Like just so fast, like why it's like cars pouring into a parking lot, but like they can pour in
Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Even within the lithium category, like lithium ion, this can take even way faster charge than lithium iron phosphate.
Right,
lithium like the batteries are so
stability.
Big. Right. So there's a lot of differences between the two. The other thing too is the AGMs. Its acceptance rate is greatest between 50% and 80%. Anything above 80%, it just takes forever to charge the battery. So the battery will charge at a relative rate.
People with Teslas know that. You'll watch your charge time. You're like, oh, we only got 8
No, but he's talking about AGMs. It's even worse.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Well, 50 to 80% is the window.
Lithium is the other way. I don't
10
know
to
about
95.
Teslas.
Yeah, I just know in the Tesla, as you get near that, like it's the last like 8% or so that can take forever. In 20 minutes, you just blow like 60% into your batteries.
So I don't know.
And then it's like 40 minutes for the last
I don't know
8.
the chemistry of that one or why that is, but it sounds very much like AGM. So back in the day when lithium wasn't around and cruisers used AGM, everybody would be floating between 50 and 80%. Because when you're running the genset, you want to charge from 50 to 80. It's more efficient between 50 and 80, and the rest, well, you're just trickle charging the batteries up to the top, so there's no point in running the generator, unless your solar is taken over, of course.
Or if you were running from an alternator and you were on a long motor.
Right.
So
Well,
like, whatever.
That doesn't matter.
Then you don't care, and then you're like, whatever, let it
But
do
lithium, it'll take it all the way up.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So that's another advantage.
So it really shouldn't slow down at the. Who knows why Tesla does what they do?
health of the
but
battery,
it really
I'm sure.
shouldn't. Maybe that's it.
I mean, I would think that it has something to do with the health of the battery is to not dump it in at that last bit. Or, I don't know. It's just a guess.
Yeah.
There's got to be a reason for it.
We should ask Elon if he'll come chat with us.
Yeah, he's like, we could turn it up. I never
That's an
realized.
invite.
Right.
It's an invite. Right. It's an open invite. If you would like.
Yes.
Well, that's the one thing with lithium charge profile that has changed. Like from the beginning, like when I installed my batteries, the recommended charge profile was 14.4, even Victron, and then it dropped down to 14.2. So people have become less aggressive in charging lithium, which is much better. Because the lithium profile, it climbs, and all of a sudden it goes, pew, it spikes, and that's where you get in trouble. So that's
what spikes? The voltage?
The volt. You can actually see it on the Victron VRM. You'll see the voltage climb and the amperage drop. That's
Sure.
the actual signal of, hey, the battery's full right now.
Okay.
You
Oh,
actually-
interesting.
You can see it happen within
Yeah.
a period of like
That's
10,
wild.
15 minutes. Yeah. So I always recommend to back off, especially with alternator charging, just to back off, be less aggressive with your charge profile,
Yeah.
and top it off with the solar after the
and
fact.
let the trickle come in from the solar. That makes sense.
Yeah,
Oh,
there's
that'll
no
be-
reason to push the boundary of where you're going to get the BMS excited of a certain situation, whether it's
Sure.
amperage, voltage, or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've seen the big changes in lithium. Anything else on the horizon in the electric world?
They've been talking
boats?
about the sodium. Sodium.
Yeah.
Sodium
I
batteries.
saw another
Yeah.
article actually 2 weeks ago on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't really know what to think of it. Like
Sure.
some people say it's great, some people say it's not. The lifespan is shorter.
It's heavier.
It's heavier. It's like at
Lower
first
discharge and charge rates too.
Right. At first, when I started reading about it, I thought, oh, geez, this is going to take over.
It's
lithium.
much more
not this
environmentally
clear,
friendly,
yeah.
is my one understanding. I think it's a lot
It's
more
not.
environmentally. It is more environmentally
Oh,
friendly.
yeah, there's
But I mean, I think there's still lithium in there, right? Or
I
is
don't
it
think
not?
so.
It's just sodium and ion. Yeah, I feel like when I looked into it, it was more environmentally friendly, but not nearly the performance
Yeah.
profile.
It reminds
of
me, I was
what
going
we're
to tell you
using
guys a
right
sodium joke, but then I thought, nah.
now.
Anything else out? To me, I started looking at. I would watch like Gone with the Winds and SV Delos and a lot of these guys, and at the point at which they started to run their AC on air conditioners, to me, I was, as someone who runs so hot, I was just thought, this is the most amazing thing you could possibly ask for. And it seems like a really cool time to be a cruiser. I mean, I've been looking at getting like I think it's called a Mr. Creamy or something like that, and it's that Ninja thing that makes like ice cream. You could throw like an ice cream maker on your boat. Like, it's just crazy, time
let's-
to be a boater.
Let's also talk about that you don't need paper charts. So yes, it's a great time to be a
right.
trader. When you can pull out your thing out of your pocket that you use it all the time and go, where am I? How long is it going to be to get there? Oh,
Right.
there's a shallow over
Connected
there.
through your
there's
your
shallows that way.
satellite.
Don't go that way. You can see that now at
didn't
everyone
have-
sees
I
that.
didn't have to deal with paper charts too long. Like
didn't?
counting the blinks of the
Right.
lights and
Yeah,
Going like, where am I?
Oh.
Yeah.
When I crossed as
Now
a
it's
kid,
just like,
we had literally
Yeah.
only paper charts and little not analog, but like our GPS just had coordinate readouts. And that was
Oh,
it.
yeah.
It was a little box screen.
Oh,
this big,
Nomad had one of
and
those.
That was it. Like, so we
Yeah.
had two of them. Our backup was another one of those, and then we had big paper charts, and then the charts got more zoomed in as we got closer to land.
Yeah.
I had that my first flying job. I had that little GPS box where
Oh,
all
yeah.
it has like, okay, it's increasing now. Oh, decreasing. Oh,
Yeah, you get your lat long, and yeah. That was. But I'm glad I learned that. Just for honestly, just for the
Street
fact that
cred.
it's
You got street
it's
cred.
kind of cool.
Yeah.
But it's not really helpful because now that I know how GPS works, it doesn't make me use GPS any better.
No.
Yeah.
there's no like advantage to it other than it's kind of cool.
I think the peace of mind of knowing when it stops working or it blinks out that you're not like, oh, what do
I'm
I
sure
do?
there's going to be someone in the comments who can like use the sextant and navigate by sextant
straight
only. I'm
up.
like, okay,
Yeah.
you're really that's legit cool points right there.
Yeah.
I've
Still
never
only
learned that.
keeping you on the latitude.
Right.
Still
Yeah.
don't know where you are.
Yeah. But I think now you started off by saying this. It's like we saw this crazy ramp up over the last few years, and manufacturers focused on things like variable speed air conditioning, DC air conditioning, and that stuff's all been around now for a few years. And now it's like this war over like percentage points. Like they're like, who can claw an extra 3 or 4 or 5, maybe even 10 efficiency percentage points from their stuff, because we have the batteries and we can store the power, and we have the crazy alternators that can put power in, and we have generators and chargers. But now it's how
it's
often
making-
you have to charge, and the war over how much gets used, consumption.
Efficiency.
Yeah.
Efficiency gains is where
Yeah.
we're at. So first it was mass gains of completely
Just
new
new technology, yeah.
completely. And now it's like, well, how do we refine that and make it better for what
Yeah.
we're doing is what it seems
The
like.
wave in 48 volts is kind of, so there was like, boom, the lithium battery, it's possible. And now people are kind of slowly jumping in on the bandwagon, and what's lacking right now is 48 volt equipment. I think that you're going to see
I
a
see.
wave. Like
Okay.
48 volt air conditioners are now coming out.
Refrigerators.
Refrigerator, well,
Yeah.
yeah, they must.
Cooktops.
Yeah,
Cooktops.
cooktops, yeah,
Yeah.
48 volt cooktops, things like
Just
that.
straight DC stuff, so you're not losing
Yeah,
power,
the
conversion
inverter.
power. Yeah.
It's not a huge loss,
Right.
but yeah.
What is the rough loss inverter
It's
loss.
like
It's
6%.
five.
or something
Okay,
like that,
6%.
5-6%,
wow.
Yeah.
yeah.
But,
But
still, I mean, it's that
yeah.
if you can make all those savings and
Right.
stack them all up, you just run
But
the
also-
generator that
And
much
then you're
less.
not putting
Where-
it through the inverter where you're having the limitation of just the wattage of the inverter itself, right?
Sure.
Because you can go straight to the bank.
Correct, yeah.
You're not overloading it.
It's all part of like the whole design of the entire system, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that makes it.
Well, I think that what you just touched on is, not to bring it back into the bigger picture of the outrigger, but that's each one of us in our respective fields are trying to look at the bigger picture of the boat more than some others. So some
Yeah.
rigger might be like, yeah, I want to hold the mast up. A rigger like Steven might go, yeah, I want to hold the mast up, but could I do it with less stays than are there right now to make the overall lighter so that I can increase the riding moment of the boat? You know,
Right.
when I'm putting a solar thing on there, I'm going, okay, cool, but I don't want to impede on certain sail characteristics, and I want to keep the weight towards the center of the boat or lower so that the pitching motion doesn't change. And I'm thinking about
Sure.
nautical design of the boat, and that's the kind of thing that each one of us does and adds to it, is that we're thinking of the bigger picture.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to sell somebody some fitting or something that I truly believe they're going to need something else that will circumvent or overtake that in 2 years from now.
Right.
So I go, it would be bad if I didn't at least mention the fact that you might one day want to do this, and that would negate the need for this. So do we
Sure.
want to talk about the big picture of that, or do you just want to do this right now?
Yeah.
I think that's kind of where we fall into a lot.
Yeah.
And also one thing to mention, just because we've all said like, oh, it's possible now, we can run air conditioning overnight on our batteries. It's a lot more than the air conditioner and the batteries, because it is a tremendous amount of power required to be able to do that. The lithium batteries have given us the ability to be able to do that, but you also got to throw the energy in. So it's a complete equation.
No,
So
I found
it's
that
not
out. My first night at Anchor,
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, this is great. I can run all these things. And then the
Tomorrow
next
night-
day, like my 600 watts of solar coming in, it was like, I got 4%
I have
charge.
3 days to charge. Yeah.
yeah. So it's all part of a well balanced
Definitely.
system.
Getting
Yeah.
the juice back in
Yeah.
is the other half of the game I found. That's definitely.
Everyone always asks, do you think this will be enough solar? And the answer is just always no. Like, it's never enough. Like,
Yeah.
solar, you just try and max it out to reasonable.
I like for us, solar's
structural.
like a center console boat and horsepower.
Yeah.
There's never
Yeah.
enough horsepower in the center console fishing
That's
boat.
true.
For us, there's just never enough solar. You know, you
Right.
gotta whatever it takes, man. Squeeze. And,
There's-
People ask me
yeah.
with like, I know I could fit 5, maybe 6 or 4, and I think the aesthetics of 4 looks better. And I go, well,
Oh, the
we're gonna
4
go.
handles?
Yeah, we're gonna go
Yeah.
with 5. Then. And they go, well, I just said 4 sounds good. I'm like, yeah, I know, but as soon as you have it, you're gonna wish you had 6, and I don't want to put 6 on there. So let's just recommend 5 now.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
as
So
much as we can fit.
Solar kind of gives you the day-to-day operation if you don't have heavy loads. You can have heavy loads, but I think if you're relying on air conditioning, like systematically, you're gonna have supplemental energy requirements.
Yeah.
Whether
There's
it's
no
from
way.
an
You're
alternator
just
or
gonna
a generator
need something.
or
Yeah.
unless
Unless you're like a power cat and you just completely covered the boat. With,
yeah, actually, on my previous boat with a DC air conditioner, and it was a small cat, so I had small cabins. Like if you have like a super small air conditioner, and all you do is at night in your sleeping cabin, and it's depending on the math, it's probably doable.
It's possible to, but even, I mean, we've got clients with Leopard 50s who have 4 kilowatts of solar.
Right.
And yes, they're drawing a lot, but they'll draw down to 50%. But to recover that consumption overnight, eventually, after sometimes 2 days, sometimes 4 days, and conditions are perfect, but at some point they're going to be running an engine or a generator to catch
Yeah.
back up
Yeah.
from the, because you watch the curve just kind of goes up, down overnight, and it just comes up a little bit. It's this slow like attrition kind of thing that's
It's
going
like
on.
every night every day you put all the 10% back into what you used the night before.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So after 4, 5, 6.
First
days,
night you're at 100%. You wake up at 50. You get back to 95. The next night you wake up
I see.
at
Yeah.
45,
Yeah, you
and
get
then you
up to
wake up
90.
eventually at 10, and you know you're going to get up to 60, and it's
And
just-
so a big then change though has been the externally regulated high output alternators, right? And what
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
done.
Yeah, they put
For
out
the
a
game?
lot of power
Like
for
the
the size.
Zeus's?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
So like 6,000 watts per engine, or a little bit more depending on.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
That's really crazy. And what's the parasitic draw on the engine on average, do you think?
Didn't you say
It's,
like
it's
18%?
rated. I think
Oh,
I'd have
it's
to look
18.
at the chart. It's,
Oh, there's a
it's
chart for
more.
it, though.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's more than the power that you get out of it because it's only about 70 to 75% efficient. So there is a loss, an overall loss.
Mm-hmm.
But most of the engines that we put them on, they don't even notice it.
Yeah, wow.
So like bigger engines, it's not really a big deal. Smaller engines, there's an RPM curve, an RPM profile that you can set to only tap the power from the engine when you're at a higher
kind of in
power
the curve.
Yeah. So you can tune it to take advantage of it.
Okay.
So
I don't remember when I heard it, but I did hear 18 horsepower. Was that something that was bouncing, and that it takes at full oomph, that if you were just going to put a small Briggs & Stratton motor on it, how big would the motor have to be to turn that at full?
Right.
It would have to be an 18 horsepower motor.
That seems like a lot though, because I'm running 40 horse engines, and I can run it at full tilt while motoring.
8.
Oh.
When I'm at like
8.
8 horsepower. There you
So
go,
8
yeah.
is
8.
the no loss
Okay.
conversion, but it's probably like 10 or 12 or something like that with the loss.
Right.
Because I can motor at 2,400 RPMs, and my alternators are 185 amps at 24 volts, pushing out. I mean, obviously never at full efficiency because they get hot and they lose.
Right.
But the boat doesn't. The engine stuff doesn't feel different. The boat speed doesn't drop off by, because if it was 18,
If it was 18
you'd think I would lose.
You would lose almost half your power.
Yeah, I'd be motoring at 3.5 knots. Kind of in a problem.
Yeah, you might notice that.
That'd be a bit of a problem. Yeah.
Copy.
So, anything happening in rigging? I mean,
Everyone's
synthetic-
going to want to talk about synthetic rigging. It's the and there's people doing cool stuff, right? I mean, we've got John Frana with Caligo, who's he is our pioneer, right? Like with 12 strand SK75 and or is it 78? It's 75. Yeah, 75. I feel like what did he switch to start with 75 and switch to 78? I can't remember. But anyway, that was
what are those
the
numbers
early
reference?
days. SK rating is the denier rating, and I'm gonna butcher this, but it's to do with how the polymers are aligned in the heat setting process.
Okay.
And the higher the SK rating, the lower the stretch. But if it's like there's a tipping point where like 78 has really low creep and stretch characteristics, but 99 is even lower than that, but it's weaker. So it starts to get less strong but less stretchy.
Okay.
So it's a trade-off.
Yeah, there's a sweet spot there.
And then there's some like more exotic fibers. There's one called DM20 that is apparently incredibly low creep, but when we experimented with it, it had higher elasticity. So like it would stretch and come back at a bigger number than we thought it would, but its overall creep was ridiculously low. It was great in that regard, but it was weak too. It was 20% weaker than its equivalent SK78. So the SK rating system is, I believe, developed specifically by Dyneema, the brand Dyneema, and so other people will make SK equivalents because they can match. They can basically match
Say,
the
it does
polymer
this,
stuff
but
and
they
say, "Hey,
can't
look,
follow
ours is equivalent to about this," but they
I
can't
see, sure.
put on their branding.
Yeah.
But so, John Frana, who I mentioned earlier from Caligo, pioneered with 12-strand woven Dyneema synthetic rigging. Did a great job, and kind of Brian and I chat with John, and he's done amazing things for it. And here recently, in the last couple of years, I think he's come up with what's called parallel fibers. So the strands are no longer woven into a 12-strand, which is what looks like the core of a typical rope. Now they're just Dyneema strands that are run in a...
Let's back up for a
In a-
second and just real quick say what creep is. So when you have a weaving like this, and as it gets pulled straight, the fibers want to go straighter and straighter and straighter, but they're still
That's
taking
mechanical elongation.
mechanical
Yeah,
elongation.
different from creep.
So that's why I wanted to go,
Right.
because I know we're getting into the weeds.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's like
yeah.
we need to address this.
French company that.
So that's the other
That's
one I was
the
going to
other one.
mention.
Okay.
It's an acronym, EFTM. So EFTM has done an amazing job of making parallel fiber. But what Brian was saying was, so in the 12-strand woven, what you would typically see for your, if you're buying AM steel or but just buy a piece of Dyneema or what we call HMPE, it looks like a woven rope. And then when you pull on this really hard, what Brian was saying, yeah, like the fibers want to go flatter and flatter and longer. And some rope manufacturers mess with different, all of them do actually, with their weave being tighter or flatter.
Sure.
The flatter ones elongate less than the ones that are tight because when it's a
Yeah.
tight weave, it wants
And they are more
to
loose and
flatten
floppy
out
feeling.
and get long. And that is mechanical elongation of the fibers laying closer together and just laying flatter and squishing together.
And the
tighter.
practical outcome of that is that it gets looser, right? Like it's
Well, it has
Well, the
movement
rigging
to
would
it.
get
If it's-
looser, correct.
If it's a weave, if each individual fiber goes up, over, and then when you pull it tight, it tries to go straight, but they're all like that.
sure.
There's going to be some elongation as they try to go straighter.
And so that's permanent, but typically you can get rid of most mechanical elongation by loading stuff up one time for not even a crazy extended period. 20 minutes will get out a lot of it.
But if you
then
coil
when
it
you
and mess it up, you have to do it again.
coil all up again, you got
it relaxes.
the fibers will lay back down.
Yeah.
Creep is molecular elongation of the polymer chain. So when the plastic, the HMP, gets loaded up, it atomically changes structure, and literally the fibers become physically longer, and it will never come back. It doesn't get shorter. And then stretch is elasticity. Stretch is when something elongates and comes back again. So stretch is like an elastic band. You stretch it, but if you also think about, if you stretch an elastic band 50 times, it's also going to creep. It's going to have some permanent elongation on a molecular level. But the two are important because with standing rigging, if you're using Dyneema or any synthetic for standing rigging, if it permanently elongates over time, that means you have to tune your rig more, or eventually run out of room on your turnbuckle and then replace stuff or shorten it or re-splice it. But so what manufacturers have gone more and more towards is the parallel fiber, to where they take those individual strands that the 12 strand is woven from, and they weave them they lace them the full length of the shroud over an end fitting, just back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and then cover it and protect it somehow. Because if you imagine if you didn't cover it and you let that go slack, it's just a bunch of fibers that would snag on stuff, and it would
be a hairy mess.
So what John was doing originally, and I think may still be doing, is he has a wrapping system. So he forms it and then loads it and then wraps it up, which is, it works. But we met a bunch of guys out of Tahiti at the last Annapolis show, right?
Oh, they were
Annapolis, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
That's where they based this. That's the EFTM product that we're pretty excited about. They've figured out
very promising.
The challenge with doing parallel fibers in a soft rope-like cover has always been, how do you make it? Because I could go downstairs there and spend 2 days with some Dyneema fiber on the spool and use a FID and pass it all the way up a piece of cover that's 35 feet long, and then back down and loop and loop and loop and keep equal tension on it. And we'd have a crazy strong, almost no creep or elongation product, but it's not cost effective. But these guys in Tahiti have figured out the machine that does it for them in I think it's 30 minutes for them to make it.
That rips back and forth and then
and keeps equal tension, but it's inside a nice soft Dyneema. Because there was no rod rigging available in Tahiti, and they needed a way to make some replacement rigging, and they didn't want to pay for shipping rod in or something like that, and so they spent 5 years developing this.
Necessity is the mother of invention. They're stuck on an island trying to figure out how to get it to be a light.
And so we're trying to get we're trying to get someone to put on their boat, and
so with all these advancements, it's kind of growing and everything. But do you see it's kind of an exotic product that racers or hardcore sailors?
That's what my question is.
But like,
that's what stainless was 100 years ago.
Fair, all right. Instead of burlap rope.
So there's two arguments.
It was galvanized. It was
the number one.
But
the number one downside to synthetic rigging is its softness.
Yeah.
The fact that it can be chafed or cut is the number one thing that freaks people out, and should. Like, that's the one thing that you should be like, oh yeah, this is something I need to know about, because if you cut 20% through something, it's gonna fail. I mean, the parallel fiber stuff, you cut through 10% of it, it's game over. It's done.
So when I was cutting my Christmas lights off of my rigging,
you would not be doing that,
dude. Yeah.
And so, but are there awesome performance gains, and is it safe in terms of brake loads? It's crazy strong, because the creep forces us to not overload the Dyneema. So, like, let's say, and this is a mistake that puts a lot of people off synthetics, is you go, okay, I've got 3/8 inch shrouds, and 3/8 inch shrouds, I'm going to spit a number out, I don't know, break at 16,000 pounds. Okay. Then you look at the equivalent Dyneema, Spectra, M-Steel, whatever brand it is you're looking at, same brake load. You look at 3/8 and you go, 3/8 is good for like 16,500 pounds. It's as strong as the steel was. That's perfect. I'll just use that. Or maybe even show stronger, because stronger than steel is a thing that a lot of brand guys talk about. And you size it that way. But stainless steel rigging can see really big loads as a percentage of its safe working load, like 25%, 30% under sail, and not elongate. It just won't. Whereas Dyneema or any of these brands, if they see more than 10% of its safe working load over time, they will not stop elongating. They just permanently elongate. So you upsize.
You have to oversize.
But this is why it's so safe. Because now you're going to go, okay, the reality is, instead of having 3/8, now I'm going to go up to 9/16. And so now you've sized, your rig brake load just went to like 20K, whereas it was 15 before. So the Dyneema is never going to see anywhere near its safe working load. But the drawback is it can get cut.
Well, here's my drawback, because I had synthetic. I still have synthetic. I've had synthetic rigging on both my last two boats, and it's wonderful. It's great. It's delightful. But when your code 0 is pumping and you watch that sheet saw across the shroud, you freak out. You're like, no, I will go fix that immediately.
You gotta put shake protection in.
You have to go figure out something, because you're not going to do that for a half hour and see no damage.
It's kind of like having an inflatable dinghy in a go-to. You're aware of it.
You're very aware of the fact that you're precariously.
Yeah, you're looking at that dock like, don't want to tie off.
Are there performance characteristics changes? Yeah, like definitely. I imagine even on big, like especially mono, like a passport. Like imagine you've got a passport with discontinuous rigging. It's triple spreader. If you got rid of that hundreds of pounds of wire that's up there and put up 40 pounds, your riding moment would change. The boat would sail flatter. You wouldn't pitch as much.
The pitching,
it would change the characteristics of the boat.
Is it an all or nothing configuration, or could you have?
You can do bits and pieces for sure. You can intermix.
Yeah, maybe
the thing that most people don't realize though is when you do intermix, temperature changes work weirdly with Dyneema.
Yes.
Whereas when it gets colder, it gets longer, and when the weather gets hotter, the Dyneema gets shorter.
Which still blows my mind.
It's an inverse,
but it absolutely is true.
Yeah. Wow. Well, it's because I don't know. In parallel will be the same. So basically, the fibers expand when they're hot. Heat is expansion, and then there's less room for them to fit inside their like space, and so they have to move apart, and then moving apart they get shorter.
Wow.
Same thing with the woven. I'm sure it's worse with 12 strands.
And when we talk about the difference in weight, it's mind blowing. So I definitely remember
that's like
re-rigging.
the advantage, right?
Exactly. Because I remember re-rigging my last boat, and it was probably 100 pounds, maybe a little more than 100 pounds worth of rigging that I was just lugging around and doing stuff with, because I had it off the boat.
Two sides.
Then this is going back a bit, but when Caligo sent me my rigging, the entire package, the box with every fitting in it and everything, weighed 2.2 ship weight, including the cardboard.
Yes. 2.2
ship weight.
Yeah.
And it was like, really?
Yeah.
And that's going to hold the rig up, just like that other 100 pounds.
So on any boat, I think there would be a noticeable difference. It would be fascinating to take like a boat like yours, like a big catamaran, like a Leopard 50.
Yeah,
your uppers are 5/8, 1x19. That's really big and heavy.
And notice it most in short chop is my guess. Where you pick up and slam and pick up and slam.
Exactly.
That whipping motion is
it would be reduced significantly. Of course, you would have to have a wire forestay still, so you'd only be able to do the two biggest shrouds and your diamonds, but it would absolutely make a difference.
Yeah, it would make a difference. I wonder if you wouldn't
noticeable. I don't know.
On such a big boat, it might be more noticeable crossing an ocean.
The ultimate test would be to get two Leopard 50s and literally put the same amount of stuff on them, and then motor them, and then go from boat to boat,
and have you sail it, because I wouldn't notice it.
Right. Well, I think even motoring, you'd feel a difference because the pitch.
The moment. Yeah,
is that
right.
huge thing.
How much
all
does it
that weight up
surge,
there,
and when does it stop surging and start coming back? It will be less.
Yeah.
So,
but is it for everyone? I mean, at the end of the day, right? Like this has been the main changing thing in the industry right now. I'd say if we're gonna loop all that back in, is parallel fibers is the newest thing. And people are doing parallel fibers in other technologies like PBO and Kevlar for a long time, but the Dyneema parallel fibers is probably the newest thing, and the adoption of it, I think, is still it's gonna take time because of roller furling head stays needing it, and then people's rightful concerns over chafe.
I also generally tell people that if you're the kind of guy that tunes his own rigging and looks and cites things and says, is this in column with that? Does this look good?
Really
Does that
in
look
touch
fair?
with your rig.
If you're in touch with your rig, it might very well be good for you.
Yeah.
But if you're the kind of person that just wants to go sailing and doesn't think about that kind of stuff at all, it's not right for you. It's just not yet. Maybe it will be one day.
One thing we didn't talk about is price point. Is there a cost advantage to?
That's a very good question.
With the new stuff, I need to check with John because we haven't priced any of his new stuff. I think I saw him post online that was 1.2 times the cost of wire.
Way better than it used to be.
So way better.
2.2
So
a
it's
long
more
time
expensive.
ago. Oh, it's definitely more expensive the first time.
More expensive.
The first time. Because let's also say the fittings get to be reused. And so if you're only replacing the Dyneema fiber, you're still reusing the end fittings and the other parts that go in there multiple times.
Well, how long is the Dyneema good for?
10 years.
We're still trying to figure that out.
John is
We're still trying to figure that out.
Because no, exactly.
Yeah, like
easily 10 years though.
Yes. They used to say 5 or 6 or 7. And
very comparable to stainless.
Okay.
Very, very comparable.
Because if it was half the price, I think the popularity of that stuff would definitely.
I really think it's going to come at some point. There's going to be a fiber, and right now it's hard to do in a cost-effective way on the small boats. But I think trailer sailors and dinghies, and smaller race
Sure.
boats like Melgas and those boats. It's going to be really interesting to see those guys let the class approve some synthetic rigging for them, because a lot of this early adoption stuff happens in the racing world.
All the Corsairs, all the Trimarans, they all have it,
Yep.
and they're in their classes. That's what they come with. That's
Right.
what they get.
Yeah.
And
But imagine
there's
every
not,
snipe.
There's not a Trimaran out there that doesn't wish they had it if they didn't have it.
Right.
So,
Yeah. People into the speed side.
But I know it's hard. Like the guys from EFTM were telling me, it's hard on a boat less than I think 30 feet to do a really cost-effective. Then it starts to become double the price. But if it became something they could mass produce, and so like I just said, like the Snipe fleet or the Melgas guys or the imagine J70s all switched to these boats aren't rock and furler. Oh well, they have a headsail furler, but if those boats all started adopting it, it would really change the class, and it would just make the usability. It'd be so much more user friendly to not have to deal with wire shrouds and
Yeah, you're right. Especially stuff that.
on a trailer
when you
boat,
drop
it's
the
cool.
rig
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
There's no
Yeah.
kinking of anything.
You
It's
don't have to worry
great.
about snagging things like
Yeah.
you did with stainless, because
And you take the rig down all the time, so if
Doesn't
you
drag
change
it across
something
the
and your
boat.
shroud's relatively cost effective, you
If you do
Change
change
that.
something, is it blatantly obvious that?
Yes.
Ooh,
That's
damage.
Yeah.
actually one of the selling points of synthetic rigging, is that it's
Inspectable.
visually inspectable.
Yeah.
So you can see it from a mile away. When you see a piece of synthetic rigging that looks fuzzy like yarn, you think, I probably shouldn't use that anymore, but it's still carrying 70% of its original strength. So you visually look at it and go, that should be taken off. But if you actually test that piece, you're like, oh, that's stronger
Whereas
than I thought it would
12-year-old stainless can be inspected and
looks
pass
exactly-
a visual inspection and look fine, and you
Yeah.
won't find broken strands, you won't find cracks, and it can just be done.
Boom,
it's-
gone. So they say that it's
more visually
it's more
inspectable
visually
for
inspectable.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
on your family's cruising boat, if you're out there running around the world, would you do synthetic rigging?
My
on yours?
next boat will probably have synthetic cap shrouds and
Okay.
possibly diamonds, depending on the chafe setup. My boat right now has now 4-year-old, but newer rigging that I don't feel the need to change it. But I want to experiment and learn more on my own boat. So yes, I definitely want to do it on my next boat.
Cool.
But
My boat's just to throw it out there. He's living on his boat. My boat stays on a trailer next to my house, so it's a totally different ballgame
Right,
to experiment
exactly.
on my boat.
Right,
My
right.
boat is dollars, not thousands.
Yeah,
So
sure.
it's easy to use my boats as test platforms and do synthetic rigging and all the pushing the envelope stuff on a small boat, because you're like, if it breaks, it's not that big.
I'm just thinking right now if it'd be possible to figure out a way to measure the pitching.
The pitching
Like how would
surge.
you measure pitch loads? And actually you could. Absolutely you could. So if we put
Cyclops.
load cells on the
Cyclops would
rig
do it in a heartbeat.
and then you leave the load cells in place.
Yes.
So that when you do when you switch to synthetic, you will be able to get your measurements, because they log. Cyclops logs all of your
The whole graph is there.
your
yeah.
stuff. Yeah, Cyclops are the
Yeah,
load
the-
sensing turnbuckles
Uh-huh.
or pins
Or pins, or yeah.
load sensors.
yeah.
But they keep a running log, so it'd be fascinating to
Yeah,
look
they're
back.
digital turnbuckles that keep a log of the
They
forces.
show you live loads and log
the loads.
over, and you can set it to log every half second, every
Yeah,
5 seconds,
10
or
seconds, or
whatever.
whatever it is. But that is absolutely the way we'd be able to
Yeah,
measure
that'd
the
be
pitch
interesting.
difference, like how much.
Because
Yeah.
I mean, you'd have to log conditions and say, okay, cool, like we're out
all
and
the
they're
things,
log
yeah.
it for a few hours
Sure.
here, but when you go out and find those matching conditions and let the boat fall off waves, and I bet you the surge loads will be lower.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's no way it wouldn't be. Now, would it be a lot lower?
Right.
That's,
Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny.
It'd be very
because
disappointing if it was like,
well, it's also very
hey, we
entertaining
reduced
to
our
me
surge
that,
by
like,
3.5%.
right. Well, people always go, well, how much of a weight savings is it? And even me and my example of 100 pounds down to 2 pounds, that's cool, but the mass still weighs the same.
Yeah.
Like, I still have a lot of weight up there. It's just
Right.
not what's holding it
Yeah,
there.
but think of my rigging. Like
Yeah.
my mass weighs a ton, but the rigging weighs a ton
His
as well.
one cap shroud probably weighs
Totally
75
agree.
pounds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally agree. But weight aloft, it's not 100% of the weight that you're reducing. It's only a portion of.
Right.
So let's call it 50%. So you went, 80% less on 50% of the thing is still only a 25.
Well, I would say the
30.
rigging, on most cruising cats or cruising boats, the standing rigging is probably only 15 to 20% of the total rig weight. Think about how big the mast section is and how much that weighs on like a 45-foot mono.
Mhm.
I mean, that
Yeah.
mast is probably 400 or 500 pounds without rigging on it. I mean, we don't weigh them often enough.
We don't, but I feel like, and we're splitting hairs here, but it's fun to think about.
But it's every bit of 5 dudes to squat and pick up a
Oh, yeah.
45-foot boat's mast. And
Sure,
that's,
We'll throw all the rigging on one guy and see if we can crush.
Right. That's true. Yeah, we never pick up all the rigging either.
You would
So-
never pick it all up
Yeah.
at the same time. I think it's, I don't know.
And the turnbuckles would stick around.
Yes.
But they're down low, at least.
Right.
Which is a big...
Yeah.
Of course, then you can... How far do you take this? Do you go the titanium rig connections.
Yes.
Like you should.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah.
Yes, the ones that are winning races are.
Yeah.
So that is the difference.
Yeah.
And
That's
titanium
wild.
would be an interesting thing that I'm starting to see more and more of is titanium parts.
Yeah,
Yeah,
somehow
coming
that's
down, right?
in your world the changing thing. Like, because it used to be when I was doing my apprenticeship, they, as one of the tricks for the new guy, they gave me a piece of a little sheet of titanium that was like 3/8 by 12 by 4, and like, hey, can you just go cut that up for us, Steve? Like, cut us like 4 pieces. And there's me with the grinder, like throwing sparks everywhere, and like they just,
That's awesome.
they're like, hey, look at them over there. Like,
That's great. That's really
I'm
good.
like, something's wrong with this metal,
Yeah.
guys. I don't even know.
I love it.
But now it seems totally workable. Like it's
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
have figured out the cutting tools, and I mean, like that stainless cutting saw that we have in there.
True. Yeah, that is true because there was what was called a cold saw, and a cold saw is a low RPM but doused in fluid so that it stays cool and it cuts through, makes a really nice cut. Those are for industrial things. Then there was an abrasive saw. An abrasive saw is basically a fiberglass wheel with grit in it, and it spins at a very high RPM and kind of smears its way through. Not too long ago, they figured out with different technology of tips on the cutting disc, you could actually have a carbide tipped saw blade, and it ran about half the RPMs. It was double the RPMs of the cold saw and half the RPMs of the abrasive saw. So it was this nice middle point, and it doesn't need a coolant bath, but it can cut just as good as a cold saw.
Yeah.
So
Stainless is amazing.
Wow.
It
It's
makes a heck
wild.
of a lot of noise, but
Yeah,
It does it.
It is
I'm blown
extremely
away.
loud, but the
I
cut
still
is nice.
cringe when I watch you guys cut the stainless steel.
I'm waiting
it's a
for something to
carbide
blow up.
blade.
Oh, the
Yeah.
very first time
Wow.
he told me, the sales guy handed me the blade and said, no, you can cut that. And I'm going,
Because it looks like,
Yeah.
for anyone who's like not sure what we're talking about, like it looks like the blade from a wooden
Yeah.
wood
A
saw,
wood
chop
saw.
saw. It's got
Oh,
teeth on
weird.
it.
Yeah.
But you're cutting a piece of shiny stainless steel with
Wow.
it.
That
I
would
used to
be-
think,
I didn't know it had
I didn't
teeth.
do it
That
very
would be
often,
weird.
but I cut it again today, and every time I do, I go, like the first cut, I'm like, okay, it's good.
Yeah,
But it
that's
just
wild.
eats it, and it's a clean cut, like it doesn't
Weird.
melt through it. Yeah, it's.
Strange.
I mean, and I'm sure that technology's probably been around, or I know it's been around longer than we've been using it. But I feel like we were
not
relatively
a long time
on the
before
cusp of that.
because we were actually part of the test group.
Right.
So somehow or another, I impressed somebody. I don't know who or how, but somehow or another, more saw company ended
Right.
up giving me one of their first test blades, and I logged every cut and talked about the
cool.
differences and why it did what it did.
Right.
They gave me new ones to test and asked if they were better or worse, that kind of fun thing. It was really fun doing
Oh yeah,
it.
and they're messing with like the
They're
shaping
the
for
shape,
the sound
the
dissipation,
shape
right?
of the blade that's cutting is a different angle cut, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also what you were just referencing is he laughingly said, "We're trying to make the worst cymbal ever."
Yeah,
Because the cymbal is how you
yeah.
get it to ring and make
Right.
loud noise, but we want to
Right.
reduce the noise, and so they put preemptive cuts in them that
Oh,
cancel
yeah.
out the vibration of the ringing of that sound, so it breaks it up and changes it. So yeah,
the worst symbol,
Okay.
like the instrument.
Like-
CYMBAL.
Yeah.
Not,
yeah,
at
it's
first
not,
I was
not,
like,
not a symbol of
SYM,
what? No,
yeah.
symbol like
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
So-
loud enough as it is.
It is extremely
Imagine
loud,
if
and
it
that's
was
with the
poorly
reducing,
designed.
reducing cuts in it.
Wow.
So I can't even fathom how loud it would be
Yeah.
without that. But yeah,
Speaking of titaniums, I just ordered a night vision camera. It's built out of 316 stainless steel, and they use titanium nuts. Like, yeah.
Well, like in the
Company out of
goodies.
Sarasota, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, we
Yeah.
need to film that. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Anything with cameras.
Uh-huh,
I
right.
do all the boat stuff anyways.
He
But
sent us a picture the other
When it
night.
can
Was
cross
that
over.
nighttime?
It was
that
nighttime.
picture?
yeah.
Golly,
He
man.
sent us a picture over
It was-
text, and it looked like a broad daylight picture of
Whoa.
a channel marker.
Whoa.
But the channel marker was lit up.
Oh,
well, you don't see
sweet.
that during the day, really.
Sweet.
And he was like, "What's insane? What are you talking about?"
Well,
I said,
I actually didn't receive the picture. Was the first time it showed up
yeah,
as like a nothing.
Because
I-
he just said, "Isn't this
Yeah.
insane?" And you were like, "What's insane?" And I was like,
Oh,
"I'm
you
pretty
saw
sure
the
that."
picture?
I said, "I'm
Oh,
pretty sure
It
that's
finally
a, that's
came
a,
through to me.
Oh.
that is a nighttime picture that looks like a daytime picture."
Yeah.
And you were
Wow.
like, "Ah."
Yeah, like the
Oh,
sky, you could see sky texture. And,
Absolutely.
It's
You-
actually pretty impressive.
Really?
It's very
And
realistic.
I knew they were out there, those cameras, and I always relied on my radar to kind of hopefully not hit a large object or whatever. But as soon as I put this thing I put it on the cathedral, and I actually this morning when we were coming back, I figured, oh, I'm using this in the daytime too, because it's basically a camera,
clear view.
a clear view.
Right.
I can't, I
Makes
can't see
sense.
beyond the sail, but the camera can see
Yeah.
beyond the sail.
Is it on your
It's in
plotter?
the front.
Is
Yeah,
it talking to your plotter?
both
Wow.
plotters and my
Does it sync to
computer
the
monitor.
Nomad network?
What's
or
the
is
brand?
it?
It's an HDMI
Ah.
in, so it's
Oh, it is
very
just HDMI.
yeah.
It can run that long, or is it using fiber optic HDMI?
No, it's HDMI. It's called what is it
Like a
called?
60-foot cord?
Yeah, because HDMI doesn't like going over.
No, it's
25 feet.
22 feet long.
Ah, see.
But I
Yeah.
bought an extension. No, I bought an extension.
Maybe 4.6.
I wonder if it is. Is it a thin HDMI cable?
kind kind of.
Yeah, because if it's a thinner instead of like the thicker ones, it might be a fiber, HDMI fiber, because it's a signal loss on HDMI happens pretty
really?
quick. Yeah, it's,
Yeah.
it's a thing. But obviously it would have
Anyway, it's really
that.
impressive. I mean,
All the
Yeah.
new cameras are getting really impressive. Remember that one that we did with the zoom that was unreal?
oh yeah.
Oh,
There
yeah.
was,
I
you know,
saw that one.
on,
Yeah.
on
Frank
yeah.
sent a video, like,
Frank sent
yeah.
a video of a sailboat sailing, and you could see like the pointed sail that he was on, and oh look, his jib is flogging a little bit. He needs to sheet in, and then it just sits there and zooms out, and you realize that it was literally on the other side of Tampa Bay,
Right.
like the
crazy.
other side of Tampa Bay.
No,
like,
the sad reality is good luck using that on any boat anywhere in the world except
moving.
like Salt Creek where it was pond flat.
Yeah,
Because by the
right,
time you zoom
right.
in anywhere close,
Oh,
like,
yeah, zoom's a problem,
Where you'd be
yeah.
trying to catch
Yeah.
the.
Well, that being
yeah.
said, the law enforcement said, "Oh, that thing's nothing."
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Law
right.
enforcement actually saw that and went, "Yeah, but they're reading your shirt off
Yeah.
at that distance."
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
they're reading
they're
the
also
print.
spending like $75,000 for those.
yeah. A little different. Well,
Spending.
what
Right,
would
right.
be cool? Yeah. The print and do what they want. So, if we imagine like talking about, we didn't talk about AC much, which I'm really looking forward to you coming on and talking about AC units a little more specifically, but whether it's the camera that we were just talking about, or talking about, the battery tech and those kind of things, or synthetic rigging and things in the fabrication world, it'll be cool at some point. Why we just got to stay on the podcast, and hopefully people like, comment, subscribe, be part of it, because it would be so much fun to have industry experts be able to come in here, manufacturers and people like that. Because now that we've walked through that topic, and you professionally install at the yacht rigger or something like, rigging, right? Standing rigging, someone to come in who actually manufactures, the standing rigging, the Dyneema, whatever they got,
Yep.
like synthetics.
Someone that can tell us how the
How cool
electrons
would that
get into
be?
a battery.
Yeah, someone with the batteries, doing those things. So that's going to be cool.
Yeah.
Next podcast, man. Yeah,
Totally.
Thank you guys for being here, and see y'all next
It's
time.
awesome. Yeah.
Well, I hope you guys, those of you who made it this far into the podcast, I hope that you would please consider subscribing if you are vibing with this content. We are going to have our other regular videos for the New to Boat Life series featuring me, as well as how the pros do it, featuring guys like the ones here from this podcast episode, as well as other people from the Yacht Rigger. And then we'll also be having this content release in this podcast form. So tag along, be part of everything. Check the link in the description below for all kinds of cool stuff that are all affiliate links that, should you buy something from there, keeps this content rolling out to you in support of this channel. Thank you so much for your viewership, and I'll see you guys on the next episode.